I fell for my online love slowly. Message by message. Call by call. "You're the only one I trust," he whispered. Then he asked for $5,000. My chest tightened. Something felt wrong. But I still sent it. And hours later, he disappeared, and then I realized. I didn't think I was the kind of person this would happen to. I work with numbers all day. I catch mistakes for a living. Small ones, big ones, the kind that cost people money if they slip through. I'm the one who notices patterns, who double-checks everything before it's finalized. So when I say I checked him, I mean I actually checked him. It started on a night I couldn't sleep. I was in my apartment in Omaha, scrolling without really thinking, when his message popped up. Ryan Mercer. That was the name. Simple, normal, nothing flashy. His profile didn't look new. That mattered more than anything. There were posts going back years, comments from people who looked real, photos that weren't overly polished. I didn't respond right away. I opened his profile and just watched it for a bit. Scrolled slowly. Construction photos. Job sites. Steel frames, unfinished buildings, dusty boots. It wasn't curated. It looked like someone documenting work, not trying to impress anyone. I closed the app. Opened it again 10 minutes later. His message was still there. "Hey, I know this is random, but you seem like someone who actually reads things before liking them." It was a weird opener. Not flirty. Not pushy. Just observant. I replied without overthinking it. Something simple. And that should have been it. Just another conversation that fades out after a few messages. But it didn't. He didn't flood me with texts. That's what I noticed first. There was space between replies. Enough that it didn't feel forced. We talked about normal things at first. Work, schedules, the kind of stuff people say when they're still figuring each other out. He said he worked in construction management. Mostly commercial builds. Traveled between sites depending on the project. That explained the photos. It also explained why he wasn't always available at the same times. Nothing felt inconsistent. After a few days, he sent a voice note. I didn't expect that. Most people don't do that anymore. His voice was calm, a little tired, like he'd just finished a long day. Not trying too hard. Not performative. That was the moment something shifted for me. Because it stopped feeling like a random account and started feeling like a person. We moved to calls after that. Not immediately. It built up slowly. First a few voice notes, then short calls, then longer ones. Always at night. Usually when I was already in bed, lights off, phone pressed to my ear. There's something about talking to someone in the dark that makes things feel more real than they probably are. We didn't jump into anything intense. No big confessions. No exaggerated emotions. It was steady. Comfortable. He'd tell me about delays at job sites, suppliers messing things up, long drives between cities. I'd tell him about work, about catching errors no one else noticed, about how repetitive it could get. At some point, I realized I was starting to look forward to his calls. That was the first thing I didn't question enough. Around the third week, he started opening up more. Not all at once. Just small pieces. He mentioned a divorce. Said it had been messy. Financially draining. He didn't go into details, and I didn't push. It felt believable. Not dramatic. Just something that explained why he kept things a little guarded. One night, I asked him directly, why me? I don't know why I asked that. It just slipped out. He paused for a second before answering. I could hear something in the background, like wind or traffic, then his voice came back softer. You actually listen, he said. Most people don't. It was simple. But it stayed with me. By the fourth week, we had a rhythm. Messages during the day when we could. Calls at night when everything slowed down. Sometimes we'd just stay on the phone without saying much, like neither of us wanted to hang up first. I didn't tell anyone about him. Not my coworkers. Not my friends. I kept it to myself, like saying it out loud might make it feel less real. Looking back, that was another mistake. There were things that should have stood out. Small gaps. Times he'd disappear for a few hours and come back like nothing happened. Not suspicious enough to call out, but noticeable if I'd been looking for patterns instead of connection. But I wasn't looking for patterns anymore. I was looking for consistency in how he made me feel. And he was consistent. By the fifth week, it didn't feel like talking to someone online. It felt like something real was building, even if it only existed through a screen. He'd say things like, when things calm down, I'll come out there, and I believed him without asking for specifics. That's the part that's hard to admit. I believed him. I remember one night in particular. I was sitting on my kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, phone on speaker. It was quiet except for his voice. He sounded more tired than usual. You ever feel like everything just stacks up at once? He asked. Yeah, I said. All the time. He let out a short laugh. Good. Thought it was just me. We talked for almost an hour after that. Nothing dramatic. Just being there. And somewhere in that hour, without saying it out loud, I let my guard down completely. I stopped questioning. I stopped checking. I just trusted what I felt. And that was right before everything started to shift. The shift didn't happen all at once. That's what made it so easy to miss. If something had felt obviously wrong, I would have pulled back. I know I would have. But it wasn't like that. It was subtle. Small changes that could be explained if you didn't look too closely. Ryan was still there every day. Still messaging, still calling. Still consistent in the ways that mattered. But there were these tiny gaps that started to stretch a little longer. At first, it was nothing. He'd disappear for an hour, then come back like, sorry, got pulled into something on site. That made sense. His job wasn't predictable. I'd already accepted that. Then it became 3 hours. Then sometimes most of the afternoon. But when he came back, he was still him. Same tone. Same way of talking. No weird energy, no awkwardness. Just picking up right where we left off. That's what made it confusing. One night, I remember checking the time while we were on a call. It was almost midnight. You sound exhausted, I said. I am, he admitted. It's been one thing after another out here. Where are you right now? I asked. Kansas City, he said without hesitation. Temporary site. Supposed to be quick, but you know how that goes. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. That tracked. He'd mentioned Missouri earlier that week. What kind of project? I asked. Warehouse expansion, he said. Big one. Lots of moving parts. Again, it all sounded normal. Nothing stood out. But later that night, after we hung up, I caught myself replaying that conversation in my head. Not because something was clearly wrong, but because I couldn't remember him mentioning Kansas City before that week. It bothered me for a second. Then I let it go. That became a pattern. Little questions that showed up and disappeared just as quickly. Around that same time, he started sharing more photos. Not selfies. Not posed. Just quick shots of job sites. Steel beams, concrete floors, equipment parked in the background. Sometimes he'd send a short video, walking through a half-finished structure, explaining something about delays or materials. See this, he said in one of them, pointing the camera at a stack of supplies. We've been waiting on this for 2 weeks. Everything else is just sitting. His voice was steady. Natural. Like he wasn't trying to prove anything, just talking. I remember thinking, no one fakes this much detail. That thought stuck with me. One afternoon at work, I was sitting at my desk going through invoices when my phone buzzed. It was him. Hey, you free tonight? I smiled without meaning to. That had started happening more. Yeah. Same time. I typed back. Yeah. I'll call you. Simple. Easy. That night, he sounded different. Not off, just heavier. What's going on? I asked after a few minutes. He exhaled slowly. Just dealing with a mess out here. What kind of mess? Supplier issues. Payment stuff. It's complicated. I didn't push. He'd always been open enough without me needing to dig. You'll figure it out, I said. You always do. He was quiet for a second. I hope so. That was new. Up until then, he'd always sounded like someone who had things under control. Even when he talked about problems, there was this underlying confidence that it would get handled. That night, it wasn't there. We stayed on the phone longer than usual. Not talking much. Just not hanging up. Before we ended the call, he said, I'm glad I met you. It caught me off guard. I'm glad I met you too, I said. There was a pause. Seriously, he added. You're the only person I feel like I can actually talk to right now. That should have made me pause. It didn't. It made me lean in. The next few days followed the same pattern. He was still there, still consistent, but the stress in his voice didn't go away. If anything, it got a little worse. Shorter messages during the day. Longer silences. Then those late-night calls where he sounded like he was holding everything together by a thread. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one evening, staring at my phone after one of his messages. Sorry. Crazy day. I'll call you later. That was it. No details. No explanation. Just enough to keep the connection there. I typed out a reply, deleted it, typed something else, deleted that too. Finally, I just wrote, okay. I'll be here. And I meant it. That was the part one didn't see clearly at the time. I was adjusting to him. To his schedule. His gaps. His stress. Everything started revolving around when he was available. And I didn't question it. A few nights later, the call came in later than usual. 1:32 a.m. I stared at the screen for a second before answering. Hey, I said, my voice still half asleep. Megan, he said, and there was something in his voice that made me sit up immediately. Not panic. But close enough. You okay? I asked. There was a short pause on the other end. Yeah, he said, but it didn't sound convincing. I didn't know who else to call. My chest tightened. What's going on? He exhaled slowly, like he was choosing his words carefully. It's this situation with the bank, he said. They flagged something on my account. Fraud alert or something. Everything's locked right now. I didn't say anything. I'm trying to sort it out, he continued. It's just bad timing. I've got payments that need to go through for the site and everything's frozen. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not completely. Just enough to feel it. Because suddenly, all those little things, the gaps, the stress, the vague explanations, started to line up in a way they hadn't before. And I didn't like the picture it was forming. "I don't know what to do," he said quietly. I swallowed, my grip tightening on the phone. "What are you asking me?" I said. There was a long pause. And in that pause, I already knew. I just didn't want to hear it yet. That pause stretched just long enough for me to feel it in my chest. Not panic. Not yet. Just this heavy awareness that whatever came next was going to change everything. "I hate asking this," Ryan said finally, his voice lower now. "Careful." "I really do." I didn't respond. "I just need something temporary," he continued. "A few days. Until the bank clears everything. Then I'll send it right back." There it was. Clean. Direct. No pressure in his tone, but the meaning landed anyway. "How much?" I asked. Another pause. Shorter this time. 5,000. It hit me harder than I expected. Not because I didn't have it. I did. I wasn't reckless with money. I had savings. I planned for things. Emergencies. Unexpected expenses. This just wasn't the kind of emergency I'd ever planned for. "That's not small," I said quietly. "I know," he said immediately. "I know. That's why I didn't want to ask. I'll figure something else out if you can't." That line should have made it easier to say no. It didn't. It made it harder. Because he wasn't pushing. He wasn't rushing me. He wasn't doing any of the things I'd always heard scammers do. He just left the space open. "I don't know," I said. "This feels like a scam," he finished for me. I went quiet. "Yeah," I admitted. He let out a small breath, almost like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "I get it," he said. "If I were you, I'd think the same thing." "Then why are you asking me?" "Because you're the only person I trust right now." That line landed exactly where it was supposed to. I hated that it worked. "I can't promise anything," I said. "I need to think about it." "Of course," he said quickly. "Take your time." "I'm sorry, Megan. I shouldn't have put you in this position." And just like that, he pulled back. No follow-up. No pressure. We stayed on the call for a few more minutes, but the energy had shifted. Whatever ease we had before, it was gone. Replaced by something tight. Careful. After we hung up, I just sat there. Phone still in my hand. $5,000. I opened my banking app without thinking. Looked at my savings. The number was still there, solid, untouched. I could afford it. That wasn't the question. The question was why I was even considering it. I paced my apartment for a while, replaying everything. The past 5 weeks. The calls. The messages. The way he never rushed anything. The way he answered questions without sounding rehearsed. I tried to poke holes in it. Tried to find something that didn't add up. But everything I checked still held. I even went back to his profile again. Scrolled through it like I had the first night. Nothing new stood out. No obvious red flags. If anything, it made it harder. Because if it was fake, it was good. Really good. The next day, he didn't message me much. Just a short, "Hey," in the morning. Busy day. I'll talk to you later in the afternoon." No mention of the money. That silence did something to me. It made the situation feel real. If he was trying to scam me, wouldn't he follow up? Wouldn't he push? He didn't. By that night, I found myself checking my phone more than usual. Waiting. When he finally called, it was earlier than the night before. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey," he replied, softer this time. "Tired. How's everything?" "Still dealing with it," he said. "Thanks, giving me the runaround." He didn't bring it up. Not once. We talked about other things. Normal things. Work. The weather. Small details that shouldn't have mattered but somehow did. And that's when I realized something I didn't like. I was the one thinking about it. Constantly. After the call, I sat on my couch staring at my phone again. Then I opened my banking app. Closed it. Opened it again. I don't know how long I went back and forth like that. At some point, I just stopped thinking. I opened the transfer screen. Typed in the amount. $1,000. Not 5. Just 1. A test. That's what I told myself. If this was real, it would help him. If it wasn't, I'd only be out a smaller amount. That logic felt safe enough to act on. I hesitated for a few seconds, thumb hovering over the button. Then I hit send. The confirmation screen popped up instantly. Transfer complete. My stomach dropped anyway. I texted him right after. I sent something. Not all of it. Just something. There was a delay. Then his reply came in. "You didn't have to do that." No exclamation marks. No over-the-top gratitude. Just that. I wanted to help, I typed back. Another pause. "Thank you," he said. "Seriously. I'll pay you back as soon as this clears." And, just like that, things felt normal again. That should have been my warning. Because for the next day, everything went back to how it was before. Same tone. Same rhythm. Like nothing had changed. Then, Late the following afternoon, his message came in. Hey, I hate to even ask this. My chest tightened immediately. But the situation's worse than I thought. I didn't respond right away. I just stared at the screen. I'll figure something else out if you can't, he added. I don't want to put you in a bad spot. There it was again. That same space. No pressure. No demand. Just enough to make the decision feel like mine. And somehow, that made it harder to say no. I stared at his message longer than I want to admit. Not reading it. Just looking at it. Like if I waited long enough, the meaning would change. It didn't. I already knew what he was asking for without him saying it directly. The rest of the money. The full 5. My first instinct was to put my phone down and walk away. Just not respond. Let it sit there until the feeling passed. But it didn't pass. It stayed. Quiet. Persistent. I opened my banking app again. The number looked smaller now. Not because anything had changed, but because I'd already moved part of it. That first $1,000 made the rest feel closer somehow. Like I was already in it. I hated that thought. I typed a reply. How much do you still need? I erased it. Typed something else. I don't know if I can. Deleted that too. I locked my phone and set it on the counter like distance would help. It didn't. Because my mind kept filling in the gaps. If he was telling the truth, then he was stuck. Alone. Dealing with something he couldn't fix on his own. If he wasn't, then I was about to make a very expensive mistake. There wasn't a version of this where I felt completely safe. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. I'm sorry, he wrote. Forget I asked. I'll handle it. That line should have been enough. It should have made the decision easy. Instead, it did the opposite. Because now it felt like I was the one pulling away. I picked up my phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. Hey, he said, surprised. Just talk to me, I said. There was a pause, then a quiet exhale. It's just a mess, he said. Payments are tied up. People are waiting on me. I hate this. How long until it clears? They said a couple days. Maybe 3. And then you can send everything back? Immediately. His answers came quickly, but not rushed. Like he'd already thought through them. I closed my eyes. You're sure about this? I asked. About everything you're telling me? Another pause. Then, softer, yeah. That should have been the moment I stopped. It wasn't. Okay, I said. I don't even remember deciding. I just said it. I'll send the rest. The silence on the other end was brief. Megan, you don't have to. I know, I cut him off. I'm choosing to. That was the lie I told myself. That I was in control of this. After we hung up, I didn't wait. I opened my banking app again, fingers moving faster this time. For $1,000. I checked the numbers twice. Then again. Everything in me was tense. Not excited. Not hopeful. Just braced. I hit send. The confirmation screen came up. Transfer complete. And, just like that, it was done. I sat there, staring at my phone, waiting for something to happen. A message. A call. Something that would tell me I hadn't just made a mistake. A minute passed. Then 2. Then my phone buzzed. I don't even know what to say, he wrote. Thank you. I mean that. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It's fine, I replied. Just get through this. I will, he said. I promise. That word again. Promise. For the rest of that night, everything felt almost normal. We talked. Not as long as usual, but enough. His voice was steadier. Less strained. Like the problem had been solved. That should have been comforting. Instead, something about it felt too clean. But I ignored it. Because I wanted it to be over. The next morning, I woke up and checked my phone immediately. No messages. That wasn't unusual. He wasn't always up early. I got ready for work, went through my usual routine, trying not to think about it. By mid-morning, I still hadn't heard from him. I sent a quick message. Hey, how's everything going? No reply. I told myself he was busy. By lunch, nothing. I checked his profile. Still there. Still normal. I put my phone down and forced myself to focus on work. Invoices. Numbers. Patterns. Things that made sense. By late afternoon, the silence started to feel heavier. I checked his profile again. This time, it didn't load. At first, I thought it was my connection. I refreshed. Nothing. I searched his name. No results. My stomach dropped. I opened our messages. They were still there. But his profile picture was gone. No name. Just a blank space where he used to be. I stared at it, waiting for it to come back. It didn't. I don't know how long I sat like that. Minutes. Maybe longer. Everything felt quiet. Not loud panic. Not immediate tears. Just this slow, heavy realization settling in. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same result. I didn't leave a message. I didn't know what I would even say. I went back to the chat and scrolled up. Weeks of conversations. Calls. Messages. All of it still there. But now it looked different. detached. Like I was reading something that happened to someone else. That night, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't call a friend. Didn't text anyone. Didn't even look up what to do next. I just sat there, phone in my hand, replaying everything over and over. Every message. Every call. Every moment I could have stopped. It wasn't just that I lost the money. It was how completely he disappeared. No argument. No excuse. No explanation. Just gone. And that's when something shifted. Because the more I thought about it, the more one thing didn't sit right. It wasn't just that I got scammed. It was how perfect it had been. Too consistent. Too detailed. Too complete. Like it had been built, piece by piece, to pass every test I didn't even realize I was giving. I opened the chat again. This time, I wasn't reading it as someone who believed him. I was reading it as someone trying to find him. And that's when I started noticing things I hadn't before. Once I stopped reading our messages like they meant something, and started reading them like evidence, everything changed. It wasn't emotional anymore. It was patterns. I went all the way back to the beginning. Every message, every photo, every video he had ever sent me. At first, nothing obvious stood out. Same tone, same pacing, same kind of details. If anything, it still looked convincing. But then I noticed something small. In one of the videos he sent early on, he had been walking through a job site, talking about delays. I remembered it clearly because it was one of the moments that made him feel real to me. I replayed it. Not for his voice this time. For the background. There was a sign behind him. Slightly out of focus. I hadn't paid attention to it before. I paused the video and zoomed in. A company logo. Simple. Clean. Real. I wrote the name down and searched it. It came up immediately. A legitimate construction company. But not in Missouri. Ohio. Cincinnati. That was the first real crack. I felt it in my chest, sharp and immediate. Because that meant one of two things. Either he had lied about where he was, or none of it was his. I went deeper. Found the company's website. Scrolled through it until I found their team page. And there he was. Or, someone who looked exactly like him. Same face. Same build. Same smile. Different name. Daniel Harper. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not angry. Not even shocked. Just still. Because everything in my head started rearranging at once. The videos. The photos. The details. None of them were his. They were taken from someone else. A real person. With a real life. I clicked through more of the page. There was a photo of him with a woman. Captioned. Daniel and Laura Harper. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. I don't even know what made me do it. But I found her. Social media wasn't hard. Her profile was public enough. I opened it. Scrolled. Normal life. Photos together. Family gatherings. Nothing out of place. Which somehow made it worse. Because now this wasn't just about me. This was about someone else's life being used, without them even knowing. I hovered over the message button for a long time. What was I even supposed to say? Hi, your husband's face was used to scam me out of $5,000? It sounded insane. I almost didn't send it. But then I thought about how easily I believed everything. And how someone else probably would too. So I typed. I kept it simple. Hi. This might sound strange, but I think someone is using your husband's photos and videos online. I just wanted to let you know. I stared at it for a minute. Then I sent it. She replied the next day. Short. Direct. You're not the first person to message me. I felt something drop in my chest. What do you mean? I asked. Other women have reached out before, she said. Same story. Same situation. I swallowed hard. How long has this been happening? A few months, she said. We reported it. Nothing really happened. There was a pause in the conversation. Then she asked, did you send money? I hesitated. Then typed it anyway. Yes, $5,000. Her reply came slower this time. I'm really sorry, she said. They're good at this. No judgment. No questions. Just understanding. And somehow that made it worse. Because it meant I wasn't special. I wasn't targeted. I was just one of many. That should have been the end of it. It should have been enough to accept what happened and move on. But I couldn't. Because now I had something I didn't have before. Clarity. I went back through everything again. But this time, I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at the structure. The timing of messages. The gaps. The way he avoided certain questions, but leaned into emotional ones. The way he built trust before introducing stress. It wasn't random. It was a system. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. That's when I did something I'm still not sure was smart. I made a new account. Different name. Different photos. Nothing connected to me. Claire Bennett. I built it slowly. Just enough to look real. Then I waited. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. I almost gave up. Then one night, a message came in. Hey. I know this is random. My chest tightened. Same opening. Same tone. It was him. Or whoever he really was. And this time, I knew exactly what I was looking at. I didn't rush it. I let it build. Message by message. Call by call. Exactly the way it had happened before. Only now, I was paying attention to everything. The timing. The phrasing. The patterns. Nothing had changed. He was using the same script. Same pacing. Same emotional hooks. And the worst part? If I didn't know, I would have fallen for it again. That realization hit harder than losing the money. Because it meant it wasn't just about him being good at this. It was about how easy it was to believe something you wanted to be real. When he finally brought up the problem, it played out exactly the same. Late night call. Strained voice. I hate asking this. I let him finish. Let him explain. Let him think it was working. Then I sent him a message. A single image. A collage I had put together. His old messages to me. His current messages. Side by side. Along with the real Daniel Harper's profile. And Laura's message. Everything. Under it, I wrote one line. How many of us are there? He read it. I saw the read receipt. 3 seconds. 5. 10. Then nothing. Blocked. Gone again. But this time, it felt different. Not better. Just clearer. I never got the money back. I didn't expect to. That part still stings sometimes. Not every day. But enough. What stayed with me more was something else. How real it felt. Not just the conversations. But the emotions. The connection. Even knowing now that it was built on lies, it didn't feel fake when I was in it. And that's the part one still struggle with. Because if something can feel that real, even when it isn't, then how do you trust your own judgment after that? I still think about the version of him I believed in. Not the scammer. But the person he pretended to be. The one who called me at night. The one who said I was the only person he trusted. That version never existed. But it still feels like it did. I don't know if what I did at the end mattered. He'll probably do it again. Use a different name. A different face. A different story. But, at least for one moment, he knew I saw through it. And I wasn't just another name on a list. I guess what I keep coming back to is this. Was I actually manipulated that well? Or did I ignore everything because I wanted it to be real?